The massive divide in the Warhammer in the Diablo 4 community. Here we go. I guess this is raids. Let's see.
If this is your first time, welcome to Legendary Drops. My name is Ian. I am a construction worker by day and a gamer by night. This is my hobby, and damn it, do I love it. Diablo 4 is also something that I love. It is a game that is near and dear to my heart. I have a lot of special memories with the game, growing up with it, and it's likely the same for many of you that are watching this video right now.
Diablo 3. Yeah.
It's difficult to watch something that you love change over time, and Diablo is a game that has changed a heck of a lot. It's painful, and at times we feel a little bit betrayed, because if it was working before, why can't it work now?
Because it's not. That's why. I think that a lot of games, like, it's easy to say that, oh, well, you know, it worked well in Diablo 2, but, like, how many people are realistically playing Diablo 2 right now? People always go back and they look at old games and are like, oh, why can't things be like this anymore? Well, because everything's changed.
Well, that's because it's going to work better. All right, so as I eagerly await the release of Diablo 4, I find myself unable to stop looking at content and watching videos, checking Twitter, looking for any news or updates regarding the game.
Diablo 4 all the time,
the devs are hard at work, working on what is likely to be Blizzard's biggest release of all time. Something that's probably going to sell a heck of a lot better than Diablo 3 did, and that's really saying something.
Diablo 3, will it sell better than Diablo? I don't know. I feel like Overwatch was probably their biggest release of all time, besides like World of Warcraft. But like recently, it was definitely Overwatch.
But one of the things that I came across, and something that I've seen discussed amongst many members of the Diablo 4 community, is a lot of concerns regarding Diablo 4. And you know, those are my specialty. See, players aren't concerned about Cash Shop or the Battle Pass.
Yeah.
No. It's the multiplayer. I have seen a slew of debates and conversations where Diablo fans are pitted up against one another, arguing over multiplayer aspects and the Diablo 4 development team's interest in potentially adding more multiplayer aspects in the future.
I think that they should if people like it. I feel like the worst thing to have happen with a game is for a game to get, like, the game doesn't evolve and doesn't adapt because people have created a definition for what this game is, and it ends up holding the game back. I think this happened with World of Warcraft for years, and it was so bad for the game.
During a recent interview, a question was posted to the devs asking whether or not they were thinking about making raid content or something that would allow guilds to take on the world boss as a group.
Yeah, that would be cool.
The D4 team ended up expressing pretty significant interest in the idea. However, as it stands, guilds are only to act as a social hub, a place for communities to gather.
I don't think it would really be a big deal in my mind if people were able to go as a guild and kill the world boss. Like, who gives a fuck?
In response to this, many players were beside themselves, afraid that group-only content would ruin the game and make rewards unattainable for those who wish to play solo.
Yeah, I do think that's an issue.
On the other hand, other players loved the idea. They loved the idea of unique encounters made to play as a group with unique rewards bestowed upon those who can organize and accomplish it. These types of players and their interests...
I think it's very hard to know where to draw that line. Because you're definitely right that a lot of people, like, the value of a game like Diablo is that you don't need anybody else to play it. You don't need somebody else to invite you to a group. And, like, for example, I think that obviously the best parallel to this is Lost Ark. Think about how many people stop playing Lost Ark because they can't get a group for Belshazzar or Vicus or Vulcan or, like, you know, whenever they stopped playing, or Argos back in the day. So, yeah, I think that's definitely a big problem. And so I don't know if Diablo 4 should just go and make raids. Now, I think it would be fine if Diablo 4 had raids and the raids didn't drop, like, the best gear in the game or something like that. But I think if it did, it would make all of the effort and time that you spend in the game outside of that raid just kind of subservient to the raid itself, because you're creating a progression cycle.
Are so vastly different.
So, like, for example, if they went and they did imagine like a hard mode version of that Ashava world boss that we did in the beta. If they had a optional hard mode, like, for example, like Hell Vaultin, where it gives no actual gear, it's just a bunch of really cool cosmetic rewards, and you can get it if you clear it with a guild. I think that would be really cool. That's totally fine. I just don't think that they should make content that gives you power gains, especially exclusive power gains, that you have to be in a group to do.
Single-player Diablo fans are looking for an immersive experience.
Yeah.
Free of interacting with other players.
Well, exactly. And you look at the amount of people that are playing PoE. Most people that play PoE, that I at least see streaming it, are playing solo. They're all playing solo. Like, yeah, you have, like, Empyrean and, like, those guys that do group stuff, but, like, that's the exception, not the rule. Most people play PoE solo.
They want that single-player RPG experience where they enjoy the detailed storylines and areas without interruption. They want to be in complete control of the game. When they stop playing, the game stops.
Yeah.
The finish line doesn't continue to stretch further and further away as they're offline. They aren't here to compete. They're here to complete. And they'll do it in their own time. Multiplayer Diablo fans want to shred through dungeons with the boys. Or girls. They want competition, social interactions, community, and endless play. They are
Well, I think that you already have that with Diablo 3. Like, I've seen a lot of videos, and I feel like the meta in Diablo 3, maybe I'm misremembering. It's been so long. A lot of the high-end groups and the first people that were pushing high rifts, they were groups. Because, like, you could combine a lot of utility and then end up killing the mobs faster. So, yeah, you had, like, a ZDPS character. Like, you actually had a character that did no DPS. It just pulled aggro on all the other mobs and grouped them up.
Those who fully embrace the idea of always online. They want to be checked out as they're just AFK sitting in town. They don't mind Diablo 4 as a live service game because, well, they want the game to grow at an advanced rate. Now, this isn't to say that single-player fans don't want the game to grow, that they don't want endless play, or they can't be competitive. I know about leaderboards. But all of those things mean entirely different things to fans of multiplayer games.
Here's the thing. If Blizzard adds raids into Diablo 4 that give pinnacle level gear, it will completely fucking restructure the way that people play the game. It will totally restructure the way that people play it. In a massive way. It'll change what builds people play. It'll change how currency works. It'll change how people farm dungeons. Like, it will massively change the game. So I'm not saying that they shouldn't do it. Like, they should, you know, like, they should release the game, see what players think, and then go in the direction that the player base wants them to go in. Whatever that direction is. Maybe I'm not in the right direction. I don't know. They should make a game that their audience wants. That's what my point is. However, I do think that it will massively change the dynamic of the game. I do not think it will change the dynamic of the game if all of the raid content is cosmetic. Like, what I mean by cosmetic is all of the rewards in the game, none of the rewards that you obtain are, like, high level gear. Like, I don't care if you get, like, a few extra legendaries, who gives a fuck, right? Because you're getting them all the time. Probably, especially at, like, high, like, world tier levels and shit. So, it's not that big of a deal. I do, however, think that, like, getting, like, for example, like, compared to Lost Ark, getting your ancient level tier set, that should not come from a raid. Absolutely not.
It's the face-to-face. It's seeing other players. It's feeling like you're being a part of something bigger. And I gotta say,
that's cool.
I'm with them.
Yeah, that is cool.
Blaze
I like
forward, shoulder to the wheel, innovate harder. Diablo 4 is already a game that is a massive departure from any of the other iterations in the franchise, so why not just do more? Steal more from Lost Ark, or Path of Exile.
Yeah.
Heck, steal from World of Warcraft even.
Good idea.
Why are we just looking at games like ARPGs in comparison when Blizzard could be looking to compete with games like Destiny 2?
I think that actually, whenever I think about it, there's a good chance that in terms of like the world aspects of the game, Blizzard took more from Lost Ark than almost any other game. Like in terms of the way the game plays, it is very similar to Lost Ark. And I think that's a good thing.
Had major success.
I forgot
Make
the cash
Diablo
out?
4 an MMO
it.
light. Make it something between Diablo 4 as it is now and a little bit of Lost Ark.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't see anything wrong with them trying to do something new, trying to stay competitive. They want this.
Well, I think that's what they're doing, and that's a good thing. I think that adding raids into the game with actual gear in it that drops, and that gear is like really, really good. Because here's the thing. You have to make the raiding gear the best gear in the game, or nobody's going to do the raids. Why would you spend all of your time getting in a group to do a raid whenever you could just play solo and get the same stuff? There'd be no reason. So I think that making like high tier or top tier gear in a raid, like in Diablo 4, I think that's way over the line. I think that they're already there. They already have a shared open world. You can already do world bosses. You can already see other players in town. You can already trade with them and see their gear and inspect them. I think that we're in a really good place. I feel like, yeah, they could add raids as, again, cosmetic, like Hell mode, Ultimate mode, and Final Fantasy, Mage Tower level challenges like in WoW. I think that would be really cool. But I don't think that the raids in Diablo 4 should ever have gear in them that competes with the top gear that you can obtain solo. I think that's what would be really scary.
To be a live service. They want this to be a live service success. They want a large community to form around this game and keep pumping money into it, making it bigger and better. Single player games can become incredibly popular, and I'm not going to say that they can't. But multiplayer games can hold mass relevance for far longer.
They can. I don't know about Matt. Like, I mean, for example, Dark Souls 1 still has, like, probably, I would say Dark Souls 1 has, like, more relevance than Diablo 3. I would say. But, and maybe that's just a personal opinion, but that's the way at least I feel about it. Same as, like, Elden Ring, etc. I think that the reality, though, is that people usually play it, like single-player games and multiplayer games have two very different advantages. Multiplayer games generally have a much higher player count of people that are playing them, and single-player games are never bad. So, for example, you can go back and play Super Mario World from, I think it came out in 1995. You can go back and play that right now. It's just as good as it was back then. You can go back and play Dark Souls 1 or Dark Souls 2. You can see just exactly how good it was back then. And in 20 years, people are going to be able to go back and play Elden Ring the same way. And they're not going to be able to do that with a game like World of Warcraft or a game like Warzone. And I think that's the big difference between multiplayer games and single-player games.
Destiny 2, off floating in space as this massively successful live service title that holds the keys to the casual MMO. Destiny has dungeons, raids, PvP, solo content, stories, strikes, and even its own form of affixes to make normal content more difficult.
That's cool.
Steal parts of their DNA. Now, I'm not saying literally steal and copy Destiny 2. There are plenty of things that Destiny 2 does wrong. However, I am saying look at the things that have been really successful for them. I mean, Destiny's raid content is some of the most unique and engaging gameplay that I've ever experienced.
Maybe I should play this game. No, I think I kind of want to try it out.
Something that goes further than your typical MMO. Small group content of 3 to 6 players filled with complex puzzles, difficult boss fights, and unique mechanics with a very strong emphasis on personal responsibility. These in-depth, challenging, and engaging experiences are something that would feel incredible in Diablo 4. I don't think that Blizzard should just disregard the idea of group-only content. Yes, I understand that it would make the game less accessible. Yes, it could keep specific loot away from players that want a single-player only experience. However, who cares? Most of those players are the ones that are mad that the game isn't Path of Exile or Diablo 2. Maybe some of the...
I think that it does matter. And I think that it matters, like, in WoW. It feels really bad that, like, you never want to go and do, like, normal mode or heroic mode of a raid, because you know you can do Mythic Plus and get better gear. I think that if you put rewards in the game, and then you blame the player base for trying to go towards those rewards, you're just being lazy as a developer. Like, developers inside of a video game are God. So anything the player base does is because the developer lets it happen. It's because the developer makes it to where that activity is rewarding.
Those players end up finding out that they actually enjoy that kind of content. Maybe some of those players end up joining a guild and making friends. Maybe Blizzard does what they do in World of Warcraft and give players multiple avenues to reach similar power, but still obtain unique rewards. Hell, if Diablo really wanted to innovate, they could create raid content that allows single players to play it solo and then provide a more mechanically heavy experience, a more challenging experience, a more unique experience when completing it as a group.
That would be really cool. I think that would be awesome. But I just don't want to see it give better gear.
Genuinely do not like this idea of, not my Diablo, where you have these people that are just so vehemently against having group-only content in Diablo 4. Like, innovation and experimentation is somehow not welcome here. Like,
yeah, I think they should absolutely try it. Like, that's the best thing about a seasonal game, is that you can try things, and if they're bad, you don't try them again. Or you change how you try them next time. More games shouldn't be afraid. They should be more willing to take risks.
Rather just have more resistances to juggle or more affixes on bosses and elites because, you know, that's engaging gameplay. I've seen players go as far as saying that even if the content didn't have any effect on them or their gameplay, that they still wouldn't want it in the game out of principle.
That's fucking stupid. Anybody who thinks that is a moron. They shouldn't even be taken seriously. Nobody should listen to them. Their opinions don't matter. That's just stupid.
Are you unhinged?
Yeah, they're just
Blizzard
stupid.
should completely ignore these people.
Absolutely.
Try it out. Experiment with it. That's the point of having a live service title in the first place.
Yeah.
It's because they can try it out in a season, and if it doesn't work and the people don't like it, well, you just go ahead and throw it out. I've seen people in the community telling new players that are coming in, you don't want to play this game. This isn't the game you want to play. You're looking for World of Warcraft. Let me go ahead and show you over to World of Warcraft. Or no, you want Lost Ark. You want to go play that weeb shit. Go play that instead. Now, what you don't understand is that there are new players, a younger audience that is coming in that is very interested in Diablo 4. They want to play Diablo 4, and they're coming from games that are multiplayer centric. They're used to cooperating with other players and playing with
I'm not sure how many kids are really getting into Diablo 4. Like and that's really I'm not saying that I'm not making a diplomatic like disagreement. I actually don't know. I would assume probably not a lot, but who knows?
People, they have friends. There are plenty of people that are looking for group-only content. There are just as many saying yes as there are saying no.
I think that it depends on what the question you're asking is. I think, for example, if you ask the community the question, would you like group content that is the equivalent to Final Fantasy Ultimates or Lost Ark Hell Mode? I actually think most people would say yes to that because it's totally optional. It just gives cosmetics. It doesn't matter. But if you ask people the same thing, but say it gives gear and that gear is better than anything else you can get in the game, I think that not all of, but many of those yeses would turn into nos. Because it would just completely change the game. So yeah.
I'm on the side of saying yes. Diablo 4 is a live service title, and maintaining a successful live service title, or even having a live service title that is successful, is incredibly difficult to do. That's why we're actually seeing so many companies lately pop up making MMOs, because, well, they have stronger communities, longer lasting communities, which makes for a better live service title.
Yeah, of course.
I actually have a video on why there are so many new MMOs. You should go watch that. RPGs and ARPGs adapting some mechanisms of MMOs are largely what's making them more successful. It's providing longevity, more profits, and ultimately more content for the players. Persistent worlds, trading, seasonal updates, and expansions, these are all things that were adapted from MMOs that we're seeing in games like Path of Exile and even Last Epoch.
Oh yeah, you're definitely having a lot of kind of general things. Like, for example, many games have battle passes. I think Fortnite was the first game to have a battle pass. I don't remember it exactly. But you're seeing battle passes with everything now.
Adapting isn't bad. It's a form of evolution. And
I don't think that, like, MMOs, like, so I don't really care about whether you call the game an MMO or an ARPG. I think that the terminology is reductive. I think you should just look at, this is a video game, would it be good for the video game? Rather than try to have this like ideology that's determining what you can and can't allow into the game. I think that's bad.
Understand, I don't want every single game to become a multiplayer experience, but there are spaces, these genres, where it does make sense, and here in Diablo 4, guys, it makes sense. Everyone has their own opinion on what Diablo 4 should or shouldn't be.
Oh yeah.
Or what any game that's important to them should or shouldn't be. However, that doesn't necessarily make us right. Even my opinion right now isn't necessarily the right one. It could be terrible. My opinion could destroy the world. However, it's not our decision to make. Ultimately, this falls on the Diablo 4 developers.
I think it ultimately is the player's decision. Because if Diablo adds something like this, the developers add something into the game, and then people don't like it, and then they leave, well, then that's going to direct how the game's designed. That's just how it works. Like, yeah, you can say the developers are the ones that make the decisions, but they make the decisions informed by the best outcome for the community, you know, like most of the time.
See what they believe is going to actually work for the game in the long run. I don't want Diablo 4 to become Diablo 3. I want to see this game continue to be supported. I want to see it grow. I want to see it flourish, and I want them to experiment, try new things, and see what works. I can already start to visualize the people raving in the comments on this one, so I actually challenge you with this video.
Okay.
Tell me, what would you like to see in Diablo 4 that isn't being done in any other ARPG right now? Tell me something engaging, some type of massive experience you would like to see added in Diablo 4 in the future. Anyway, I just want to say thank you guys for watching. It's been a lot of fun putting these videos together. I want to give a shout out to my first 3 channel members. Thank you guys for supporting me. Tom, Scriber, and Fawns Gaming. I really appreciate it. It's super cool.
That's good.
If you guys would like to join the channel as members as well, I will shout you out on the next video. I did kind of mention earlier in the video, I work a full-time job. I work in construction, so I try really hard to be able to at least put out 1 video a week if I can. I stream 2 to 3 times.
That's better than most people that do YouTube for a job. You should feel good about that.
On the channel also, you know, time given to do so. Yeah, hopefully I'm gonna get big enough one day where I don't have to do the long-winded intros and I don't have to tell you guys, like, you know, welcome or anything like that. But yeah, so I hope you guys have a fantastic week or weekend, and stay righteous, dude.
So I want to talk a little bit about why it's not good to...
Cat.
That's a good cat.
Sub for the cat.
why it's not good to have multiplayer raid content in Diablo 4. So let me just go ahead and make a list of things, right? How multiplayer reward-based content will affect Diablo 4, okay? So, number one, it will encourage more metagaming. Because you need to get invited to a group. And in order to be invited to a group, you have to play the best spec. So that's number one. Devalues any gameplay outside of multiplayer content. And this is also assuming that the rewards are the best from multiplayer content. And by the way, if they're not the best, nobody will do it. Unless it's like cosmetic, like, you know, bragging rights type content. So that's, I think those are probably the two biggest reasons. Let's see, what else besides that? Gatekeeping. I mean, I think that's also, it's just like gatekeeping is inside of metagaming. Like, metagaming is gatekeeping, everything like that. So, feel like you could describe WoW in-game content? Yeah, I wonder why. Yeah, I wonder why that is. Make a poll, group-gated content or no? Well, like here, let me ask you guys a question, okay? Would you like group content in Diablo 4 if it was only for cosmetics? Because, yeah, actually, like, yeah, let me ask. Yes? See, I would actually like that. I think that would be really cool. Yeah, no problem with that. Yeah, I don't see that as being a problem whatsoever. Absolutely, that's a good thing. Would you guys have a problem with Diablo 4 having raids that dropped, again, and it has to drop the best gear? I cannot emphasize this enough. There are two outcomes. It's either brain dead, like world boss level content that you just get, it's either a participation reward, or it's actually the best gear in the game. Because nobody is going to go out of their way to wipe for 3 or 4 hours to kill a boss to not get the best piece of gear in the game. So would you want that? Like raids in Diablo 4 that gave the best gear in the game. That you had to do with other players. Look at how big of a difference that is. Like I'd say 80% of the people were saying yes. And now I'd say 90% of them are saying no. Probably even more. That is a massive fucking difference. And obviously, I literally just gave reasons for why it's a bad idea, but that's it. Isn't it hard for Diablo 4 to create a fair loot table? No, you just make it drop for each individual player. That's it. What if the raids would only drop crafting resources? You could also solo farm in a world, which can be forged into the best gear. I don't know. I think that there's obviously nuances that they could get into, but overall, I'm not really sure. I think it just really depends. Diablo 4 raids should randomly drop top gear, but allow solo players to farm tokens to buy that gear. I don't even think that they should consider that. Really, I don't even think that they should even begin to consider this. Just add in a cosmetic fucking raid and see how players adapt to it. And if people seem to like the cosmetic raids, then maybe add in raid gear. But don't do it right off the rip. That's a mistake. Anyway, I'll link you guys this video. I think conversations like this are important. I hope the Diablo 4 developers are paying attention to them.